And that's a different kind of realization, because now you're not asking, how do I grow here? You're asking, do I even belong here? Some people stay and shrink, and some people make a decision that changes everything. They find a new room or they build one. Not every room is meant to grow you. Welcome to the interview room, where real conversations build real growth. Each week, we sit down with amazing business owners and everyday experts to uncover what's really behind the biggest wins, toughest failures, and boldest goals. Because here's the truth, you don't have to have it all figured out to sit in this room. I'm Coach Annie. Let's learn, laugh, and level up together. Welcome back to the interview room, where preparation meets opportunity, where clarity creates confidence, and where you learn how to show up when it matters. I'm Coach Annie, and today's conversation is about what happens when you stop trying to fit into a space and start creating one that actually fits you. Because your environment will either stretch you or shrink you. Today, I am joined by the beautiful, the wonderful Miss Linda Mejia. I think I said it correct. Miss Linda Mejia. Mejia. Oh, man. Who is the CEO of Linda's Lifestyle and the founder of the Black eXpat in DR. Linda made a bold decision, and y'all, I was so intrigued because she didn't shift careers. She shifted a whole environment. She moved from Canada to the Dominican Republic and built a platform, a lifestyle, a system that supports how she lives and works. And what stands out most about her journey isn't what she built, it's how intentional it is, because she didn't find a new room, she designed one. So Linda, welcome to the interview room.
Thank you so much, Coach Annie. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get into building platforms and lifestyles, I want to start with the moment most people avoid, that quiet realization that something isn't aligned anymore. So take us back to the moment you realized your current environment wasn't aligned anymore. Not what you did, but what you were feeling and thinking. What told you it was time to move?
Well, there's a couple of things that led up to it. There was a lot that led up to it, but two pivotal moments. One is when I actually caught COVID, and it pushed me to hit the emergency stop button with everything else that had just happened, from losing my mom to Black Lives Matter to just so much. But I sat in silence for 4 days. No outside voices, no TV, no music, no nothing, just complete silence for 4 days. And in those days, I came to the conclusion that I was not okay. I was not mentally and or physically okay. And it wasn't that I had caught COVID. It's just, even without that, I was not okay. And so I hit the emergency stop button on life, and I took 3 months unpaid off of work and decided to take care of me. I was going to do the closest thing to a eat, love, pray as I could possibly do locally and invest in me. And I ended those 3 months by going on a solo trip to Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And so prior to leaving on the trip, that aha moment that I wasn't okay, but not necessarily knowing what I was going to do or how I was going to then turn around and be okay. Started the journey and then went to Dominican Republic, and that is really when everything changed. When you have been in a room for so long, you can't even feel what the room feels like anymore. You almost become numb to it. And then you pick yourself up and you put yourself in a new environment. For some, it's a vacation. It's a break away from what they're accustomed to, and then them choosing to go back. But the week that I spent away was enough for me to go, I don't want to push this square peg into this round hole anymore. I don't want to go back. I feel physically and mentally so much better while I'm here. Wasn't sure if it was just, on vacation, changing scenery. That's really all. So I ended up going back less than a month later.
Wow.
And spent 2 weeks there. And I was like, yeah, there's really something here. And then I ended up spending a month there and living locally. And at the end of the month, I was then trying to figure out how to stay, because I was not looking to go back. I could tell that the environment in Punta Cana was just so much more nourishing to me, my mind, body, and my soul.
Wow. I love that because I think a lot of people feel that when they're, they need to be somewhere else, but they don't act on it. A lot of people feel misaligned, but they say you didn't. So when you think about that moment, what did you have to let go mentally before you can make that move?
I had to let go of a lot of things mentally. First of all, the way of life is completely different.
Yeah.
So I am 3-generation Torontonian. I know nothing other than go, 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 go. Like the more productive you are, the better. It's kind of how you're measured in your values, your productivity. Whereas the values in Dominican Republic are completely different. I feel like North Americans put work first and then their family comes. In Dominican Republic, they put God first and then it's their family, and then everything else falls underneath. And so the way that they walk and talk and move and everything aligns with that. So I was able to just really let go of the go, 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 which took a good while.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that don't know how to just relax and chill and just be. We feel guilty for not being productive. We feel guilty for not doing something. So that was a big piece, but a big piece that also impacted my nervous system, allowing me to just chill. I needed to let go of English because I was moving to a Spanish-speaking country. So that was something that I also needed to let go of.
Absolutely.
And I needed to let go of thinking that the way that I was living my life was benefiting me and it was doing me right. I mean, when I first got to Dominican Republic, I was 313 pounds. Now I'm just under 200. And
Hold on. Wait. You're not going to go by that quick. First of all, congratulations, because that is hard to do.
Thank you.
Especially in a place where they cook good food.
Hi. So, hello.
Okay. So we're not going to slide by that. I'm going to let you get back, but we're not going to slide by that. But definitely congrats to you on your weight loss journey.
Thank
Me
you.
seeing you in person, you look amazing.
Thank you.
So keep that up. Okay, you can go back now.
Thank you. But I needed to let go of the thought that the life I was living was serving me.
Right.
That's what I needed to let go of. So it really made me question every single thing that I do, why I do it, how I do it, and do I want to continue to do it in this next chapter? And I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that I let go of that I never thought I would, and how I have designed this new lifestyle, Linda's lifestyle.
I always say alignment costs something, but misalignment costs you more. And what's powerful about your story, because I know a little bit about your story, is that you didn't just leave. You're building. You've built and you're building. You created something. So when I think about Linda's lifestyle and Black expat in DR, what were you intentional about that most people overlook?
I think just being intentional. Everything that some people just build for the sake of building. I was building because I needed to rebuild my life. The life that I had built wasn't serving me. And even if it was no longer compatible with my new environment. Like really basic things were no longer compatible. So I needed to be intentional about this new life that I was going to build, because we were not going to build a life that was not serving me a second time. We were going to be intentional, methodical, strategic with everything that we were doing. But Black expats in Punta Cana, that was built from me not having a community there. Like when you still live in the same country or area where you're born, you have a community that already comes kind of built in, whether it's your family around you, your friends around you, your colleagues, your neighbors, whatever community it is that you have, it kind of comes built in. But when you move to a brand new country and you don't even speak the language, it is really hard to figure out where your community is. And I knew I wasn't alone. I was spending, from the time that I woke up to the time that I went to bed, speaking Spanish. And I was looking for a community where I would be able to speak English, but that could relate to some of the things that I was going through. I also knew I wasn't alone. I knew there were a lot of other people that were becoming expats, leaving North America and making Punta Cana their new home. And so there were multiple groups that were available for expats in Punta Cana, but to a certain extent, I could relate. but there were still certain things that were just not landing. And I was kind of looking for my own tribe. So when somebody else mentioned, they were an expat down here and they really didn't have anywhere to go, I was like, well, that's it. We're going to build a community. I don't know what it takes. I don't know how to do it. But we're going to figure it out person by person, and we're going to build this community. And now we've got a community of over 600 people that are either living here full-time, part-time, or considering relocating. And I'm quite proud of the events that we have and the support that we are in the middle of creating for each other, from monthly meetups and networking events to day parties to childcare at some of these events. We're now looking at how we can help people relocate and how we can kind of almost create like an onboarding so they don't have to go through the trials and tribulations that some of us have had to go through. They don't have to pave their own way. They can just kind of ride off of our coattails. So I was very intentional about who was around me, what I was doing with my time, and that it was going to lead to somebody that I was proud to be. Yeah.
So what I love about this is that some people are waiting for permission, and you're out here building a whole environment, a whole community. And I think that that's the part of your story that really stood out to me, because it wasn't just building in my home, building in a foreign place, and not even being, their main language is not even your second language, right?
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is one of the things that stood out to me. And I think one of the things you guys, I was just in DR and I had the chance to attend the event and meet some of the nicest people down there who were super kind and super friendly. And I could tell that the support was real just by the interaction, just by how quickly they introduced themselves, how quickly they want to hug you and welcome you home, and make sure that even if you're visiting, that you want to come back and see them.
Yes.
And I remember walking away and I was like, I got to come back when they have some more Black expat events, even though I ain't down here, but maybe I'm coming more, just because of the warm welcome. So I want to really make sure that I give you a shout out and to everyone that was part of that event as well, that we were able to meet down there, that I'm glad we all got to connect. I think the timing was really good. I know when I think about this, so Linda's lifestyle, it's a whole operating system. Talk to us about it. Tell me what that is. Like, what are you building?
Absolutely. Well, I was trying to rebuild my life. I feel like my nervous system was shot. I was becoming overwhelmed very easily. I had unprocessed trauma. I had just so many things that were going on with me, and I was crashing, for the lack of a better term. And it got to the point that the crashing was so random and so, I want to say, deep, that I needed to figure out how to get out of this and how to stay out of this. Life is going to keep lifing. So there's always going to be things that are thrown your way. But I think the resilience of, being knocked down and then knowing how to get back up, what the steps are. I needed to build what my daily life was going to look like that was going to support this lifestyle, because what it is that I was previously doing wasn't working for me. So I realized we've got something called executive function, where it allows you to really plan and focus and remember what matters and regulate emotions and follow through, all things I was struggling with. And so I needed to figure out, especially if I'm entrepreneur, business, if you don't show up, then your whole business suffers.
Right.
Well, previously, in my previous life, if I'm an employee, I'm not having a great day and I'm not coming in. Well, that doesn't work in this new life. So I needed to figure out what this new life is going to look like and how I was going to build something that was going to allow me to maintain this. And it kind of started with gut health. Like, that's really how it started. Is I told you I was on a weight loss journey and completely changing the way that I was eating. And I started to study gut health. And then when I realized that your gut, the things that you were eating, directly impact your mental, I was like,
Yes.
Hold up. What do you mean? I said to you when I arrived to Dominican Republic, I was 313 pounds, but I left out the fact that at one point in life, I was almost 400. And that was all based off of choices that I was making, reaction of things that I'm going through, and I'm choosing to deal with it with food. And so you can imagine me being that weight, what my mental, if that's what my gut kind of looked like, you can imagine what my mental kind of looked like. And I felt like if those two are connected, I really need to clean up the way that I'm eating, and that will hopefully then translate to my mental. But I knew it wasn't just about food. We already talked about environment. And I noticed that how I was reacting or even carrying myself or my nervous system felt back home in the environment versus being in Punta Cana and Dominican Republic. I just felt so at peace. I felt so relaxed. I didn't feel rushed. The people that I'm choosing to surround myself with. Then there was regulation. I had never been taught about your nervous system. I had never been taught how to regulate. I had never been taught anything about lymphatic drainage. I had never been taught about all these different things that were impacting my system, impacting my physical, and impacting my mental. I had a routine, but my routine was not a healthy one. So I needed to create a routine that was going to serve me because I had one. I was doing things on a daily basis, but those things were reinforcing a life that wasn't serving me.
Right.
We talked about nutrition, and there's also movement. So I went from a life where you get out of bed, you take a shower, you get into the car, you drive to work, you park underground, you go upstairs, you sit at your desk for 8 hours, you go back down into the underground, you get into the car. I might drive through the drive-through, I might go home, and then I'm going to sit on my couch until I go to bed. Right. So the lifestyle that I was living was definitely not getting me any sort of movement whatsoever. And I mean, even through research, the movement is therapeutic in itself because movement doesn't necessarily have to be the gym. It doesn't have to, it's just moving your body. And so dancing for me was such a therapeutic activity, but I'd gotten away from it. I didn't know anything about Pilates or stretching or just moving my body and how it impacts your mental. And then the last being your mindset. And so I have a specific playlist that I listen to in the morning to start my day off right and get my mindset right. I have motivational quotes that are around my house to just remind me on a daily basis, I am enough, or what I'm working towards and my dreams and my goals. So I build a whole ecosystem based off of different operating systems. And the 6 are environment, regulation, routine, nutrition, movement, and mindset. And if you take each one of those and you look at them almost like pillars, if you're constantly making deposits in your pillars, it will stabilize what we talked about earlier on being executive function, at least for me. And so these are the things, the lifestyle that I've set up for myself, where I am consciously and intentionally either learning something new. I've created a whole curriculum under each one. I'm learning something new about each one and about how it impacts me. But I've also integrated it into my lifestyle, my daily life. And every single day, I consciously and intentionally make deposits so that I can continue to show up the way that I want to show up in life and be able to enjoy it.
So I'm sitting here and I'm like, where's my notebook? Because I want to be taking notes with a lot of key things. And what really stuck to me, what I heard is executive function is not built or supported. So that's why you created your system. And it feels like what I got out of it is if the system doesn't support you, build one that does.
Correct.
That's
correct.
That's exactly what I got out of that. Thinking of that, a lot of people think that the right room is going to feel perfect. They think because they're building, it's going to feel perfect. What are some of the challenges that you faced as you're building this community, this ecosystem? What are some things that you had to deal with that most people wouldn't know just by, looking? They think, hey, it's networking. How hard could that be? People think that.
Well, I think down to my sleep and routine. So anybody that I'm kind of talking to about this, and if they want to try and build their own lifestyle, there's a couple things that I start them off with. One of them is consistency. So I didn't realize how much I struggle with consistency and how integral it is to your lifestyle. If you only do things for 1 or 2 days and then you fall off, that's not going to serve you. So consistency was something that I definitely, and discipline were things I needed to work on. So I started off with my routine and really taking a look at, okay, so we're designing here because I feel like everybody should have their own lifestyle. It's not that somebody should copy my lifestyle. They should have their own lifestyle. Therefore, my lifestyle is very customized to me. So things like, okay, what do I want my morning routine to look like? What works for me and what doesn't work for me? And I was really surprised at what it actually took, what that combination was that worked for me. So right now in the evening, because sleep is integral to you really being able to recoup, and a lot of people do it, but they don't do it well, or they don't do it long enough. So the question was, okay, sleeping just seems so basic, right? You just put your head on your pillow, you close your eyes, and then you should be good. And that was not the case at all. So sometimes you can get devices that help you track your sleep and let you know when you're actually hitting REM sleep. I was really surprised about the fact that I was nowhere near there. Whatever it is that I was doing before going to bed, if I had to give myself a grade, it definitely was not an A or an A plus. I was failing at sleep. Okay. So then it's getting the right combination. Well, what is my combination? What does it take for me to be able to hit this REM sleep? So pretty much the combination that I have set for myself right now is first getting that hot shower, almost like a consistent indicator to my body that it's now time to go to bed. I'm even learning with rhythms the difference in between a hot shower and like a cold shower or a warm shower because it impacts your body differently. So taking a hot shower before going to bed, getting my magnesium oil that I'm spraying at the bottom of my feet and under my arms, getting specific music that I listen to on my playlist before I go to bed, getting my tea in or my bone broth in before I'm going to bed. So I was just surprised at how intentional I needed to be about such basic things. And then I needed to do trial and error because again, what works for me is not going to work for another person, but I can't determine that this trial doesn't work unless I stick to the consistency. And so there were all these different baby steps that I needed to take before I could actually deem, yes, this works for me, or no, it doesn't work for me. Nutrition, the gut health, that piece, and kind of our lifestyle in North America, even if you were to follow the same guideline that I'm following, the quality of the food is nowhere near the same.
Absolutely.
Nowhere near the same. So I was really surprised at just how much you can do in a healthy and natural way at a fraction of the cost if you know what it is that you were doing. And so I spent a lot of time researching it, even down to something as simple as collagen. Collagen is something some people live by with their protein, with collagen powders. Well, I can actually tell you something that's a whole lot cheaper and that will give you such a higher quality of collagen.
Do tell.
Do
tell.
Well, let me let you in. There's 2 different types. Caribbean lifestyle, they eat chicken feet and pig's feet. Okay. Now, if you put that in a pressure cooker, you are able to make collagen from that. I've been sending you all the instructions to be able to do that.
Okay.
It's a fraction of the cost. Okay. And it is so much better for you. And actually, pig's feet collagen is really great to help you with your sleep. All part of the research that I've been doing, because you heard me say I will do a bone broth or I'll do a tea before I go to bed. Everything that I'm doing is intentional, but it took research, it took trial and error, and it took consistency, and then it took listening to my body. So I think I was just really surprised at how much goes into figuring out what works for you and what doesn't, and how few people spend the time, invest the time doing it. We invested in our 9-to-5 and we give all that effort to our boss. But how much time are you investing to find out what works for you to set your own system up for success?
Absolutely. Oof. I'm doing air nuggets, y'all. Y'all can't even see that I'm clapping over here. Absolutely. Wow. I'm taking it in because you have me reflecting on my own routine. And I have a routine. So you have me really thinking about, are there ways and opportunities to make it better?
Absolutely. And I mean, if you're open to spending some time together, I would love to share with you maybe some areas that you don't even think about, because even your environment, right? What does your bedroom look like? Is your bedroom optimized for your nervous system? What does your circle look like? The 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with, that is either going to energize you or drain you. All of that impacts how you can show up on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Actually, that's something I always say. I said, the room doesn't change your opportunity, it changes your energy. And so you really want to make sure that you are um being mindful and intentional about your energy. And I think as I've been growing in my entrepreneur journey, growing in this podcast journey, just growing all the way, as I'm building my own ecosystem, that's one of the things that I have had to do is my energy is not for everyone. There are boundaries. Even in the mornings, I have there's certain conversations I'm not having before 9 a.m., even if I'm up. Like there's certain people and it's not to say that they're negative Nancy's, it's none of that. It's just to protect my space and my energy and how I show up. And so like social media, I tend to not be on in the first thing. I don't get up and touch my phone. Like I get up, it's prayer, it's devotion, it's my time first, with God before I do anything, before I even put my foot on the ground. And then, gym, and then all the things that I need to do to reset me, whether it's listening to a podcast, listening to an old sermon, whatever it is, just something that creates that is intentional about my journey, especially for me, because my role right now as HR is I deal with people. I'm in the people business. So I'm constantly hearing about people's lives, people's, transitions. I'm having to make decisions that literally impact people's lives, whether I have to fire someone or not. And so I want to make sure that I'm always doing that with a clear space and clear energy. And so that's something that I'm always looking to improve is like my own, morning routines and my own energy and making sure that I am setting boundaries when I talk to folks. So this is so good. Linda, I am like loving this whole conversation. There are part of my podcast and part of this interview is there 3 questions I always ask each guest.
Okay.
And for me, I want to know, what season are you in right now?
Ooh, I am in the Elevate season.
Oh, guess what? Elevate Consultants. Quick flag. Quick flag.
Yeah, I'm definitely Elevate. I've done the work, and now I need to put the finish. Almost like when you bake a cake.
Yeah.
The cake is perfect, and now we're just going to put the icing on the top and just finish off those little. That is a season that I am in. There's so many pieces. I mean, the size that I am right now, I've never shopped for clothes at this size. I've never really stepped into what my style was. I always just wore what fit, what I could bend in, what I would be comfortable in, not necessarily what I felt good in. And so I want to say getting my sexy back, but I don't know if I ever had it in the first place. So
you did. You did.
All right. Well, we're going to get back.
I think that your sexy is not what was physical. It's what was internal, because you were able to fight and come out of that. And there are so many people that just your weight loss journey alone couldn't do it. And I'm one of them, because I was also 300 pounds and lost a whole lot of weight. So I share that with you. And, we'll talk about that outline, but I understand what that is. And I know that I always say the sexiness has always been there. It was just inside. You may not have seen it, but now you're just seeing it a little more radiant, but it's always been there.
Fair. Well, I don't want you to miss it now. It might have been there. I don't want you to miss it now. So we're going to make the outside match the inside.
Absolutely. And I love that, because I think that there's so many people, I mean, so many of our listeners who could relate to that, and part of the interview room is I love having different folks with different areas and different stories, because you can't show up for anyone if you're not feeling good about yourself. if you're not taking care of you and doing what's right for you. So us having this conversation is so appropriate, because how can you show up when you don't even like yourself?
Absolutely.
When you're not contented with yourself, and that's not just in regards to weight, just in energy, mentally. If you're not happy with where you are, whether it's at work, whether it's at school, where you're living, it is hard to show up somewhere else and be authentic in that.
Absolutely. No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. So yeah, I'm at the stage where I want to elevate from the choices that I make, the rooms that I walk into, the people that I surround myself with. I mean, I was a fan of Super Mario Brothers, and I feel like I just graduated a whole new world. Like, it's not even like I graduated a level. I've graduated a whole new world, and I wanna rise to this opportunity that I've been provided with, or that I guess you could say that I've created for myself.
That you created, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right, and now I'm gonna ask a little harder. What is one decision you know you need to make?
One decision I know I need to make.
Yes, ma'am.
I need to get out of my own way
Yeah.
and get in front of the camera and start making content. I keep saying it, and then I get imposter syndrome, and I shy away. And I need to make that decision to commit, and the consistency. We talked about consistency, but content and sharing everything that I've learned. I didn't learn all this information to keep it to myself.
Absolutely.
I learned this information to empower myself, but to empower others, because I know there are so many out there that are going through the same thing that I am going through. And they have not been blessed with the opportunity to pause life and do all this research and do all this trial and error and, make all these discoveries. So I'm hoping to kind of hold the hand of others while they go through this and while they design their own lifestyles.
Yeah. There's somebody waiting for you, Linda. There's somebody like literally in your followers that's just waiting for someone to say, hey, I'm going through this too, and it's okay. So I hope, and I'm not going to hope, because I'm going to be on you. I'm going to be on you and sending you messages like, Linda, I haven't seen any cotton in 3 days. What's up? When are we going to see you? We are going to hold each other accountable in this space, because that's what it's about, right? It's not just a one-time thing. We build relationships and we hold each other accountable. And, for me, when I think about all that you're building, I think that it's amazing. And I think that I've seen you record in like, guys, she's amazing. She did a quick spot for someone, and I watch how natural she did it. No script, no nothing, on point. So there's no imposter syndrome. You just got to do it and put it out there. If you need to drop the video, press send and log off. That's okay.
Do you know what it is? I will tell you, my phone does not have a shortage of videos. I make them. They just never see the light of day. They never end up online. It's the editing. Should it be a story? Should it be a post? What should be the caption? What should be the hashtags? And all that stuff slows me down and then brings me to a screeching halt. And then the video never sees the light of day. So these are the pieces that I need to kind of massage and fine tune. We were talking with Jasmine, and she was talking about batch content. I need batch days, but I do. I actually went to a master class, and they talked about the gifts that God has blessed you with. And that if we're not using those gifts, what happens if your gifts could have saved somebody's life? They literally said that.
Yeah.
And so understanding what it is that I'm talking about, I understand how that could be a possibility in what it is that I'm doing. And so I want to be there for those that I can be there for, but I can't be there if they don't know that I exist and they don't know that I have the knowledge that I have. So I know
let me just tell you this, and you'll see this on my page. I actually did a whole video about my editing stories, and I think you'll get a laugh where I just dropped it. But I'll tell you this, post it, whether it's a story, whether it's a thing. Don't think too hard. You're going to learn what the algorithm is. There's no perfect one. So it's not what you think is going to be a perfect story might be a perfect post. What you think is going to be a perfect post is going to be a perfect story. You are not going to know that until you drop it. And you're going to have to learn as you go what works for you, because even for me, our algorithms are super different. The things I think don't matter, people are sending me comments about. And I just did it. So that's why I was like, don't get so caught up in that. Just
the trial and error, the same way that I was trial and error my sleep routine and all these kind of things.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
Okay.
You're gonna make me look tomorrow morning for you. Okay, since you have the video ready. And it could be something simple. Could be a question. Start light. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Start with just to get yourself out there, And then the last question is, how do you want to show up in your next room, in your next season of elevation? How do you want to show up? How do you want people to see you?
I want my light to radiate. I have been dimming my light, trying to fit into so many rooms, trying to go unseen, trying to go unheard. And so in this next chapter, I'm going to show up unapologetically bright. Like I want you to need sunglasses in order to stand next to me.
I love that.
So bright. But that is what it is that I'm working on right now, to show up in a way that makes me fall in love with me. That is really the journey that I am on. It's completely, wholeheartedly just be head over tails with me.
Yes, I love that. And Linda, thank you. Before we wrap up, I want to say thank you so much. I'm so glad we connected so that I had a chance to spend some time with you and hear you and see all the beautiful things in action that you're doing down in the air. But I know that there's more, and I know this is not the first or the last. But before we go, and before I close, will you tell people how they can find you, how they can connect with Black Expat? What are the things that how do they just chat with you?
Absolutely. So for Black Expats, it is Black Expats in Punta Cana. And you can find us either on YouTube, on Instagram, or primarily on Facebook. That is where our group is. And once you get to Facebook, it will then lead you to Patreon, which is our hub. That's for Black Expats in Punta Cana. Yes. For myself personally, I have 2 pages. So if you're interested in the Linda lifestyle, everything that I've been talking to you about today, then it's literally the Linda lifestyle on Instagram and TikTok. And then for myself personally, as my personal journey that I'm going through, it's becoming.linda, again, on Instagram and TikTok.
So I love this. You guys, there's something I really want you to sit with after this conversation. A lot of people are walking around thinking they're a problem. It's not that. They need more discipline, more motivation, more confidence. But what if that's not true? What if the real issue is that you're trying to perform in an environment that was never designed to support you? Linda didn't change location. She changed her whole environment. She built systems that supports how she thinks, how she works, and how she lives. And because of that, she moves so differently. So maybe the question isn't, how do I fix myself? Maybe the question is this room even built for me to win? And if it's not, what are you going to do about it? You can't perform at your highest level in space that doesn't support how you function. And that's going to be different for everyone. So guys, this is the interview room where preparation meets opportunity, where clarity creates confidence, and where you learn how to show up when it matters. I'm Coach Annie, and I will see you in the next conversation. Thanks for joining me today in the interview room. I hope you got a little inspiration and maybe even a few aha moments from our conversation. If you loved this episode, don't forget to follow, share it with a friend, and leave a quick review to keep the good vibes going. Remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. Just keep showing up and growing. Until next time, I'm Coach Annie. See you in the next interview.